Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I am excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I have been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, Piston fans, I'm sure we're still dealing with the hangover and the disappointment from our falling in the draft lottery last night. Obviously, the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Blazers jumped 2 places up in the draft order, and the Rockets dropped 2 places, and our beloved Detroit Pistons dropped 4 places. And so, very disappointing, even though we knew there was a 48% chance of that happening. I know there are people that are talking about the, that they think that maybe it was rigged or whatever, and I'm not one of those people. I think it just is random luck, and we were unlucky. And there's a writer I enjoy, James Edwards III, that writes for The Athletic. He also has a good podcast that's pretty entertaining called Bun and Cardigan Show. But he came on. It was really shocking to me. He suggested that we had bad juju because he thought, oh yeah, we had good because when we got Cade, the year we got Cade, he thought we'd get Cade. We thought we'd get the number 1 pick because we played hard every night and we just lost tough games. Well, we lost a lot of close, tough games this year. But he said we had bad juju, and he thinks that we thought we were going to fall because we tanked. Well, guess what? The Spurs, they tanked way harder than we did. They traded away their best player to Atlanta before the season started. In the middle of the season, they traded away their 2 other, Pirtle and Josh Jackson. They traded away 2 really good players that were, not their younger players. Against the Pistons, they sat their 5 best players out, and Greg Popovich didn't even play. He didn't even call a timeout. There were twice at the end of the game that was an obvious situation where you would call a timeout, and he didn't call it. They were tanking. They were tanking hard. Everybody knew they were tanking. So James Edwards, why do they don't deserve the juju? They tanked way harder than we did. We came into the year trying to win games, and we traded for Bogey, and we were looking to win, and we tried, and we just had too many injuries, and it didn't make sense. And so at the end, we had some injured players that we didn't bring back that maybe could have played. I also get annoyed at people that suggest Greg Popovich, and he is a great coach. There is undeniable, he is one of the greatest coaches that ever lived. But, oh yeah, it's great that Popovich got Wemby. Oh yeah, because he's at the end of his career. Well, Popovich got to win 5 titles, and he had great teams over, like 20 years. And so why does he get, why should everybody hoping that he gets another great team? He got to have David Robinson, and he just got to have this great team that just was a dynasty. And I mean, it's to his credit, but they also had Tim Duncan and a lot of really good players. So, and the Spurs they got big first-round picks. They got the first-round pick to get David Robinson. They got number 1 pick to get Tim Duncan, and now they got Wembanyama. So I'm not sure where people go off saying that, or somebody would say that Portland. We were hoping for Dame Lillard. I give him credit, man. He's a great player. He had a phenomenal year this year. But why does everybody think that? They should get the best pick because Dame isn't won games. I mean, the narrative was changed. I mean, everybody was saying that earlier or a couple years ago about Chris Paul. We hope Chris Paul wins the title. The year that they lost to the Bucks, and everybody was pulling for Chris. Everybody on ESPN, everybody heard, oh yeah, it would be so great if Chris Paul could finally get a title. But everybody deserves to have a title, and so do our Detroit Pistons. And I'm excited that we are going to be still picking 5th. We are still going to get a good player. Like I said in the last episode, we have Cade Cunningham, and he is a great leader, and he is going to set the tone and bring the players he's going to draw in the other players, and it's going to wear off on the other players that they're going to want to strive to be the best that they can be in every situation. He's going to be in their ear. He's not going to be just leading by example. He's going to be leading by the way that he says things. Cade just has a way. He just was born a born leader. He has a personality that others are attracted to. He's like Troy Weaver always says, he's a connector. He's just got something special in him besides the fact that he wants to be the best player and have the best team and win games. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pistons pick at 5th, and everybody knows who I want at the 5th pick is Cam Whitmore. My biggest fear is that he could get taken at 4. So hoping that Aman Thompson gets taken at 4, but there is, I'm going to be heartbroken if Whitmore's gone. A lot of people, Hollinger even has Whitmore rated at 3 ahead of Brandon Miller. And Bassini, who's really good, he has Cam Whitmore rated at 4. So there's people that have him rated at 7, Cam Whitmore. But he is a freak athlete. He can jump right out of the gym. There's a picture showing him with his vertical. He tested at least 40 inches on his vertical at the combine. He can go off 2 feet. He can go off 1 foot. He is strong. He is 232 pounds, and he's just ripped. He's just lean muscle, but he's explosive. He can go. He just has everything, and he can shoot. He can score. He's perfect for Cade and Ivy. He's a slasher. He's a great cutter. One thing the thing that he's bad at is, at least in college, was his passing. And again, he started the year late. He was injured. He missed the first few weeks. So he was behind. I was a high school coach, and, it hurt. I had key players or players I thought were going to be in rotation, and they would miss the first 2 or 3 weeks, and they got behind. And it was sometimes hard to incorporate them back into the lineup because they were behind everybody. They hadn't played, and we had some chemistry with the people that were there. And so it was a challenge for him. And he's a freshman. He's only 18. So here's a big thing you got to remember. He's 18. He's 2 years younger than Brandon Miller. He's 2 years younger than the Thompson twins. He's younger than these guys. So he's got more room for growth. I'm not just a proponent of saying draft the guy that's younger. I don't believe in that. I think, if you believe that the 20-year-old is going to be better than the 18-year-old, but if things are even close, you got to believe that the 18-year-old is going to improve more. And it's not always the case, but more times than not, it is. So that is just on his side. The person that most people, or a lot of people, are high on is Jarace Walker. And I think Jarace Walker is a phenomenal player. I think he has a lot of great attributes. He's this big, strong guy. He's very athletic for being quite big. Not a great athlete, but he moves his feet well. Some people consider him, the best defender in the draft. A lot of people say that Cam Whitmore is an excellent defender and his defense is underrated. But anyway, Jarace Walker is he's more a 2-foot jumper. He can't really jump off 1 foot. He does just a lot of floaters. He doesn't really finish around the rim. But he is great on defense. He has great instincts, and you can't teach that. And so that's why, Draymond Green is not. And some people, compared him a little bit to Draymond. They said he's not Draymond, but he still has instincts. And Draymond has been born somehow. He's such a great defensive player because he has these great instincts on where to be and when to get there. And so, according to people that watch him play, Jarace Walker has that. He's an okay shooter, but not a great shooter. But the thing about him is, some people see him as being a small 5, to be able to play small ball 5. Well, we do not need a small ball 5 on our team. So we got all these post players, and we got to dwindle them down. We got too many big guys, and so we don't need another. He's built quite a bit like Stu, and Stu is a great defender, but Walker is a better athlete than Stu, and is probably ahead offensively at this stage of the game. But we don't need 2 Stews, and we don't need a small ball 5 right now. We got enough guys. Like I said, Jalen Duren is our 5 in my opinion, and everybody else has to either be a backup or try to fill into the 4 position. But we'll see. So I don't think that Walker is a bad fit for a player. He is more of a role player, where Cam Whitmore has star potential. Lots of people have said that. Lots of people believe that, including myself. So I could be wrong. Every year there's players, like I mentioned before, there's players that drop and rise, and there's players who are drafted 18th, like Kawhi Leonard, that end up being unbelievable, or Klay Thompson at 11, or Steph at 7. There's just a whole history of players who are young. Jalen Williams, that was a phenomenal rookie for Oklahoma City, was drafted 12th. So, just because I say this, I think Cam Whitmore could be great. there's probably guys that are going to be drafted behind him that could. And a lot of people love Anthony Black, and I don't dislike Anthony Black, and I love people that are good passers. He supposedly has a high basketball IQ, really smart player, and he's a great passer. And I will say this, I love a great pass more than I like a great shot. So I love passing, but you have to be able to score. He's not a great athlete. He is a really good defender. He takes lots of pride in his defense. He is the kind of player I would have liked to have on my team. But at this stage, and we're trying to get an NBA team that is going to win a lot of games, and if you can't score, your shot's not that great, and and you're not a great athlete, then I don't think that, I'd rather take the guy with the best upside and roll with that, and a guy that can shoot better a little bit, and there's no CamWhitmore's shooting is not 100%. So I say that he shot like 70% from the free throw line, like 35 from three, but a lot of people said his shot improved greatly during the season. His form does look good. And so, because there's guys, you don't want to take guys, Ja Morant, coming in, it was a question about his shooting, and he shot pretty well 2 years ago, but this past year, he didn't shoot so well. Russell Westbrook was not a shooter, and he still can't shoot. He's how many years? At least 15 years into the league. But CamWhitmore is compared to Jaylen Brown athletically, and they both have what's called relentless intensity. And so I just love that. His second jump is dynamic. He goes up for the rebound or misses it or somebody, and he gets right back up again. And that, those athletes, there's some people when they wind up and have time to get ready to gather themselves and jump, they can really get up. But, CamWhitmore doesn't need that. He can get right up off the floor real quick. And so they say he's improved his shooting. And we'll see some people compare him to OG Anunoby, which is a player that everybody in the league wants. And if he could be even close to that, or, everybody in Piston land, everybody wants Jaylen Brown. I laugh at that. I laugh at all the Piston fans that say, oh, yeah, if we can get Jaylen Brown, we got to go after Jaylen Brown, and I guess you can talk about it, but the chances are slim to none. Everybody's going to want him. He's probably going to stay with Boston. There's other players just like him that everybody thinks, oh, this would be great to get this guy or that guy. But the reality is they're not going to probably come to the Pistons. And if we can get these young guys and develop them, they're on the same timeline, and we don't have to pay Jaylen Brown, at least Boston, can pay him the Supermax, and nobody else can. So unless that was a sign and trade, you're not going to get him for that. But besides Anthony Black, I know a lot of people like him, but I just want to say again, I love Taylor Hendricks, and I think Taylor Hendricks is going to be a quality NBA player. I'm not positive that he's going to be just a star, but he's what we need. He's a knockdown shooter. He's a great shot blocker. He blocked 1.7 shots per game. He gets up quick. He gets up high. He shoots his jumper. He elevates high, but he shoots it smooth and soft. He's over 40% three-point shooter. We need shooters. And even like I think I said last episode, maybe that as good as athletic as Duran and Weissman and Bagley, they're great athletes, but they're not great at getting up and blocking shots like I think Taylor Hendricks says. So a real sleeper that we're never going to draft unless we get another pick that's going to be taken later in the draft is Gigi Jackson, and he's maybe only 17 years old. He reclassified out of high school, and so he's only 14 days. He only beat the cutoff by 14 days to be eligible for this year's NBA draft. So if we get a later pick, but he's just, he's not a win-now player. He's a guy that you would want to develop over, a couple years, but he's a phenomenal athlete. He's got lots of great skills. He's a little bit immature. He's done some things on social media that were, not like John Morant waving a gun or anything, but they just questioning the coaches or whatever. And so he's not looked on too great for that. But, Troy says that this draft, he's not discouraged. He knows that it doesn't do you any good to sit and whine. You got to do what you can do to make your team better. And he says, this draft has lots of wings, and that's what we need, our wings. So optimistic that he's going to find one. Again, I speculated that there's chances of, Houston wants to win now. I'm not so sure that Houston isn't going to make some mistakes by trying to rush their rebuild. And, if they get Harden and pay him all that money, I don't know. I would not do that, but that's, I guess, good for them. But there's also, there's rumors that they might try to get other veteran players, like Chris Middleton or something, and spend a bunch of money and get those older guys. But I think that you don't want to rush your rebuild, and I think that the Pistons, even they could trade, but we could trade up and try to get Houston's pick at 4 if we think we need to. I don't think that we would do that, or Portland's pick at 3, because what is Portland going to do now? Is Damian Lillard, he stayed there, they feel loyal to him, they want to win the title. So now though they have to reboot, and either they got Shaedon Sharpe, who I think is going to be one of the best players in the NBA in 4 years, and they got this number 3 pick, and so maybe they want to trade Dame and reboot their team and try to start with a young team again and rebuild, or are they going to try to trade this pick and try to get some veteran players so they can win now and keep Damian Lillard? So that there's a lot of things that can happen. Detroit could try to trade back. Again, I guess only in certain circumstances. If I couldn't get who I wanted, then when I would trade back. But there's people like Orlando that have the 6th pick and 11th pick. But there's just a lot of different things that can happen, and we'll see what happens soon. And with the coaching search, still intriguing what's going to happen there. That could happen. Who knows? Like I said last episode, that they might be waiting until we see what the coach from the Suns is going to end up doing, and we're going to see if he got fired. And so now is he going to go with the Pistons, or is he going to go with the 76ers? Who's going to hire him? The Bucks. Everybody's rumored to be trying to get him. And there's a lot of other coaches out there that we don't know. We have our 3 finalists, that Jaron Collins and Kevin Ollie and Charles Lee. And I feel bad for those guys because they did their second interview and now they're just left hanging. And now what do they think? Are they thinking, do they really want me, or am I their second choice? I guess if it's your first NBA job, you would be thrilled even if you were somebody's second choice. So anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much. And I am looking forward to, the upcoming weeks and the new coach and the draft coming up. There's going to be a lot of action, and there's going to be a lot of trades coming up. But just hang in there, Piston fans. Do something nice for somebody today, and go Pistons.